Okay, so let's talk databases. You know, deep down at the heart of every single one, there's this constant battle. On one side, you've got this dream of perfect, clean, absolutely trustworthy data. And on the other, raw, lightning fast speed. It's this epic tug of war between data purity and sheer performance, and that's exactly what we're going to unpack today. Let's get into it. So, let me ask you, straight up, if you had to choose for your data, what would it be? Absolute, unshakable accuracy, or just blazing speed? Seriously, think about it. Because that choice, it basically defines the entire architecture of our digital world. And that's the big question we're tackling right here. And here they are, our two big philosophies staring each other down. In one corner, you've got normalization. Its whole promise is about having one single, perfect source of truth. No mistakes, no confusion. Then, in the other corner, there's denormalization, and its motto is simple: give me answers and give them to me now. Both are totally valid approaches, but man, they could not be more different. All right, so let's kick things off with our first hero, normalization. Think of this as the ultimate quest for perfect order. We're talking about a system pioneered way back in 1970 by a legend, Edgar F. Codd. His whole mission was to bring some real mathematical sanity to the absolute chaos of those early data systems. So every hero needs a villain, right? Well, for normalization, the bad guys are these things called data anomalies, and they are a real pain. Like, imagine an insertion anomaly. It's this crazy situation where you literally can't add a new course to the system until a student actually enrolls in it. Or what about an update anomaly? You know, when a customer moves and you have to change their address in like 50 different places and just cross your fingers hoping you got them all. That is the kind of chaos we're trying to fix. Okay, so the first step on this quest for order is what we call first normal form, or 1NF for short. The rule here is super simple: one and only one piece of info per cell. So if you've got a column for phone numbers and you've jammed 555-1234, 555-5678 in there, 1NF says, nope, not going to work. You've got to break those up into their own separate unique rows. See? Clean. Simple. All right, next up is second normal form, 2NF. This one is all about fighting redundancy. So picture this: you've got a table, and its main identifier, the primary key, is a mix of the student ID and the course ID. Now, here's the question. Does the course name belong in that same table? 2NF gives a hard no. And why is that? Well, think about it. The name of the course, like Intro to Physics, really only depends on the course ID, right? Not the student. So 2NF makes you move that course name into its own separate courses table. That way, you're not repeating Intro to Physics 1,000 times for every single student who takes it. And that brings us to what's pretty much the gold standard for most apps out there: third normal form, or 3NF. This one's all about getting rid of these indirect relationships. What does that mean? Okay, let's say a customer's city. That information is about the customer, right? So it should depend on the customer ID. It shouldn't be tied to their order ID. That's an indirect link. 3NF just tells us, hey, move that city information over to a dedicated customers table where it belongs. You know, this whole thing can be boiled down to this one awesome little oath for data modelers. It goes like this: each non-key attribute must provide a fact about the key, the whole key, and nothing but the key. So help me, Codd. I love that. It's just a perfect way to remember the entire philosophy. But there's a catch, isn't there always? This perfect, beautiful order, it comes at a price. When you have your data neatly split up into dozens of perfect little tables, getting a simple answer can mean having to stitch them all back together with joins, and joins can be slow. So it's time to pivot and look at our other philosophy, denormalization, or, as I like to call it, the need for speed. And the most important word here is intentional. I really want to stress that. Denormalization is not a mistake. It's not bad design. It's a calculated, strategic decision to break the rules of normalization. You are deliberately adding redundant data back into your system for one reason and one reason only: to make your RAID queries fly. So how do people actually do this? Well, you might do something called table flattening, just mashing tables together. You could merge a product's name right into your orders table so you don't have to do that join every single time. Or you could duplicate a user's name on every single blog post they write. Again, saves you a lookup. Another popular one is pre-calculating stuff, like storing a monthly sales total so your dashboards load in a snap instead of crunching numbers live. Every one of these is a trade-off, right? You're making things a little slower when you write data to avoid those really expensive joins when you need to read it. Okay, so after all that, you're probably thinking, just tell me which one is better. But the real answer is neither. It's not about one being right and the other being wrong. It's all about finding that strategic balance. This isn't a fight between good and evil. It's just about picking the right tool for two very, very different jobs. You've got your day-to-day transactions, and then you've got your big picture analytics. And this table just lays it all out perfectly. On the left, you have OLTP. That's your online transaction processing. Think about your bank account or an e-commerce checkout. Lots of small, fast writes happening all the time. Integrity is everything, so naturally, these systems are heavily normalized. Now, on the right, you've got OLAP, online analytical processing. This is your classic data warehouse for business intelligence. It's all about reading huge amounts of data for big, complex queries. So to make that fast, these systems are heavily denormalized. But check this out, because here's a totally counterintuitive twist. You'd think that the denormalized model would always be faster for reading data, right? I mean, that's the whole point. Well, not necessarily. Take a look at this benchmark. What happened here is that as the user base got huge, the bloated, denormalized data got so big it couldn't fit into the computer's memory anymore, and its performance just tanked. Meanwhile, the smaller, leaner, normalized model, it stayed in that super fast RAM and actually ended up being faster. It's a huge lesson about what happens at scale. And that brings us to the cost. The storage footprint for denormalized data is, well, it's massive. We're talking, on average, more than 13 times larger than the normalized version. And let's be real. In today's world where you are paying for every single gigabyte you use in the cloud, that is a cost that adds up fast. You just can't ignore it.
But storage is only half the story. You have to look at the impact on writes. Because a normalized model is so clean, you only have to update a piece of data in one single spot. It can handle over 12 times more write operations per second. For any system that has a lot of updates, that is an absolutely massive performance win. So yeah, denormalization is about read speed, but those hidden costs can be pretty staggering.
Okay, so this classic conflict is being completely reshaped by modern technology. Let's take a look at how new tools and clever design patterns are kind of creating this hybrid future, one where maybe, just maybe, we can get the best of both worlds. I mean, look at modern database engines like StarRock's. They are just built from the ground up to make joins insanely fast. We're talking about advanced techniques like massively parallel processing, AI-powered optimizers, stuff that can run super complex queries on clean, normalized data and get you an answer in under a second. Basically, these modern engines are making that old speed penalty of normalization almost disappear. And this whole debate looks a little different when you step into the world of NoSQL databases, like MongoDB. The conversation isn't really about separate tables anymore. The new question is, do you embed your related data right inside a single document, which is basically denormalization, or do you reference it using an ID, which is pretty much the NoSQL version of normalization? And this new way of thinking has led to some really sophisticated hybrid patterns. For instance, with a pattern called extended reference. Instead of linking out to a whole customer profile, you might just embed the customer's name and city right in the order document, just the bits you need. Or you could use the subset pattern. You embed, say, the 10 most recent comments on a blog post so the page loads super fast, but you keep the other 1,000 comments separate. It's way more nuanced, a much more surgical approach to modeling your data. Okay, that was a lot. So what's the takeaway? After all this, how do you actually make the right choice for your project? Let's boil this all down to a clear, practical framework that you can actually use. Here's the modern strategy, and it's basically a 3-step plan. Step 1, you always start with a clean, normalized design. That's your foundation. Get it right first. Step 2, before you even think about breaking those rules, you optimize. Use all the powerful tools your database gives you, like proper indexing. And only then, really as a last resort, do you go to step 3, denormalize selectively. Be a surgeon about it. Only apply it to the specific parts of your application that are proven performance bottlenecks. And all of this leaves us with one last really big question to think about. As our hardware gets faster and our software gets smarter, making those database joins cheaper and cheaper,
Are we maybe seeing a return to that world Edgar Cod first dreamed of? A world where normalized by default is the standard again? Maybe the future of data isn't about compromise after all, but about a powerful return to first principles.